We are live here on a Friday, 11 a.m. in the West Coast, whatever time on the East Coast. I don't keep track of that. This is Anytime with Ken and Alden, which means I'm Ken, that's Alden, and we're here. Welcome to the show, Big A.
Big A? I get to be Big A? That's great.
I don't know.
A nice upgrade. I don't want to be Little A, because that just... Well, I can't think of many good littles. Yeah, Little Richard, that's one.
Richard's great.
Yeah, but not that many. Big K. Has anyone called you Big K?
There's been some big Ks, some big big Kennys.
Big Kennys.
You know,
do you get
Kennys,
Kenny
indeed.
like without irony from anybody? Maybe your parents.
No. I haven't been Kenny for a long time, but you'll get some folks. And there was the controversy in the old movie talk and movie news days where some people thought because one person called me Kenny and I was like, whatever, that's him. Everyone thought they could, and that we don't allow. Big A.
Yeah. You definitely had to. You have to put the kibosh where it's necessary. I had a substitute teacher in middle school that was taking attendance, and she says, "Alden," and I'm like, "Here," and she goes, "Has anyone ever called you Al?" And I was like, "Please God, no." It never occurred to me until that moment that you really could.
Yeah, you could.
Because I was like, you can't alter my name, and then she found a way.
She found a way. That's my dad's name, Al, and that's his full name. He was born Ollie, O-L-I, but came through Ellis Island, and they were like, "You're Al. That's it, Al. No Alan, no Albert, no Alden, Al, A-L."
Look,
so
there's a conversation. There's an immigration conversation to be had about the experience of the name changes and everything. But like that one in particular is like, you people are so lazy. Ollie's not difficult. There are American Olivers and Ollies.
Could have been an Oliver. But he's an Al. Hey, welcome to the show. We banter up top. We banter like we're bantering hosts on the radio. This is a hour-long plus look at news, world events, social issues, social events, and pop culture and how it all matters. We have some fun. Anytime with Kenny and Denny, says David McKay in chat, and I'm okay with that there too. It's been a harried morning. Here's the business. You're watching here on the Ken Napzok YouTube channel or the Ken Napzok Facebook page. You might be watching live there. You can also subscribe, if you're not subscribed here, to the Anytime with Ken and Alden channels. We try to build that one out as we race into the new year so I can move everything over there. So I can clean up my house here, get the politics over there, right? That's what people want. Politics in the corner. Also, don't forget to follow us on social media at Anytime On Air. Links and all that stuff is down below. And Alden, we have to own, I always like to own this as a broadcaster. Little rushed and harried getting into the studio here today. Life was winning.
Life does sometimes win, but I think that's a thing people don't realize is how normal that really is. You and I have both worked in different radio stations, either remotely and in person. And there are times when a host that had been doing it 30 years would be running up the stairs saying, just hit the song.
Just hit the song. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It happens, it brings energy in.
Yeah. We would, at the rock station, especially when I was in the graveyard days, like you'd put on a long song, like a Rush song, and then you go in the lobby. I'd play Command and Conquer in the lobby. And then you get so, suddenly you're like, oh, what's that blank space I'm hearing on the speakers? Oh, God, dead air. And you'd run back in the studio, be like, hey, that was Rush, Tom Sawyer, today's Tom Sawyer. It happened all the time. So not quite that. There's some things. My teleprompter remote is not working. And yet it's not a battery issue. It just decided, we're not going to connect anything today. So we're going to manually do it. We're going to get through it. There's a lot more serious things in the world, Alden, and we're going to have some fun today as well as we try to do. But I just wanted to own, I literally just sat down here about 2 minutes ago.
No, and you're wearing it well. No one could ever. You revealed that out of the kindness of your heart. But for all everyone else knows, Napzok Studios has like a receptionist and a few assistants and like a Keurig. Like it's just
I mean, kind of an espresso and 2 chihuahuas. It's all the same.
Those count as assistants. Yeah.
All the same. Before we get to the news, and there's some serious stuff to get to, and we'll try to find our way through it all, but there's also some funny stuff in the news this week, I think. Alden, we'd like to start the show with a very important segment, and it sets the tone for what's coming. Alden, what Ben Affleck are we?
Oh, I love this one. In our first ever crossover with a cameo appearance from another celebrity, we did have Ben's daughter in there.
Yep.
We have our first Ben and Matt. And this first Ben and Matt is special to me for a few reasons. One,
Yeah.
because it's at an award show, and they're just you can't stop the power of the boys. The energy will always be the same. You look at this, and the context of this is that there's a red carpet happening outside where Jennifer Lopez is doing Jennifer Lopez press, and Ben skipped it just so he could go inside and surprise his buddy by skipping it. It's not that Damon is surprised to see him, because duh, he's going to be there.
It's going to be there.
He just went to the dinner table to be like, I came in early. And
Look at these boys.
Look at these like boys. You and Mark Ellis energy. Like, you see each other frequently, and it's still fun.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a little fist bump, and you get going, and you sit down at Wood Ranch. Yeah, I love that picture. I love. There was a point in time where I feared that Matt and Ben weren't a team anymore. That Matt and Ben had drifted apart, and maybe that was true to a certain degree. But I love that there's kind of this renewed Ben and Matt energy. I think it stems from a renewed Ben, is where I'm choosing to go with that.
Absolutely, and both fathers, both producers, and I also think like it's a sign of maybe not necessarily age, but experience to say, if we skip the carpet, we can have a pre-awards dinner with our friends.
Yep. Absolutely. Skip the carpet. I haven't done a big giant like award show. Look, I can't even get my earphones are bothering me because I set them up wrong. Oh my God, it's a disaster, Alden. It's a disaster over here. Now I got this dangling participle of a cord in front of my face. I haven't been on the big red carpets, but I've been on red carpets. They're just so awkward and silly. Just get straight to the shrimp cocktail. That's my goal in life. And that's what I'm glad you chose this picture, because it's Ben and it's Matt choosing the shrimp cocktail.
Do you have experiences with, because we've been to different ones. You were at Indy this past year. Like, have you done the let's hunt for the food spread moments?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You do that. You get in. Indy was an example of. There was a lot of things to do on that red carpet, and they're press events. Make no mistake. And they were trying to get you photo ops and stuff. And Mark and I took our photos that we wanted to by the logo, and then we were kind of looked. Mark and I have a language, being on the road together, it's comic song, where you just kind of, or parties, just partying. Where you look at each other, you're like, time to go. And we went in to get the popcorn, to settle in. Get the popcorn, take it all in, and that's what I like doing.
Yeah, I witnessed Kathleen Kennedy attempt to grab a popcorn and get mobbed in the lobby.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And yeah, not in a bad way. Just like, oh my god, And I'm just like, man, there was a time when I think producers had the anonymity to go and just grab their Coke and whatever. Nope, not anymore.
Not no more, Billy. Not no more. So there you go. That sets the tone. We're all going to skip the fluff and go straight to the shrimp cocktail snacks and laughs with Fred's. And that helps us get through some of the hard stuff. All right. With that, we are going to start taking a look at news, but I will say this up top. I am going to my teleprompter, which I rely on, which is great. I didn't have that back in the Schmoes day. The teleprompter remote, kaput. I've got to throw it away. I got the bat, nothing. So we get to do this awkward thing. I start the music. I press the button. Here's a look at some of the headlines making the world spin this week. We're off and running. Ansar Allah, the supporters of God, first came into the world scene in the 1990s, based out of Yemen and known more commonly as the Houthi rebels, the Islamic political and military group. Might not have been known by everyone around the world then, but they should know them now. This after the World Tag Team Champions of War, the United States, the United Kingdom, with little help from other countries, carried out the first direct strikes against the Iranian-backed group Thursday and kept going, some 60 strikes and counting at the time of me pressing that little button. The strikes came after the Houthi rebels kept attacking commercial ships in the Red Sea, one of the key shipping lanes of the world. The strikes didn't come without provocation, according to the news reports found on the World Wide Web. The Houthi rebels have struck around 27 times since mid-November. And even though the Houthis have claimed to target ships going to Israel, making them heroes to most American college freshmen, they have struck ships that have nothing to do with the Israeli government's war in Gaza against Hamas, the burden of that war, which is being carried by the Palestinian people. There Did I cover all my bases? I'm trying, people. I'm trying. The strikes, in my opinion, were earned by the Houthis, an international game of fuck around and find out. Though U.S. officials are publicly saying there was no concern about this pushing the war in Gaza out beyond those borders, it's hard not to see this all as a tense game of political Jenga. The Houthis currently have a fragile ceasefire going to Saudi Arabia, folks, in Yemen. But could that be over? Iran backs not just this group, but groups in Iraq and Syria that the U.S. has already carried out strikes against, and all of them are looking for a reason to wipe out Israel. And as an added bonus, the U.S. officials really wanted Iran to help calm down the problems in the Red Sea and are now saying Iran didn't help. Oh no, the Houthi leader Abdul Malik al-Houthi, I get it, responded to the attacks by threatening attacks that will be much more than attacks on U.S. ships. I use the word attack 3 times. So I know we all want to know what Selena Gomez said to Taylor Swift at the Golden Globes. So look, we'll keep an eye on this one for you all. But while you're reading Tay-Tay's lips, could you help us keep an eye on the fact that Sweden, the country that for centuries has publicly said, war, good God, y'all, what is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Say it again, has sent 800 troops to Latvia to help secure the Russian border there and has warned its citizens to prepare for war should Putin succeed in Ukraine. That seems like something to watch, especially if your uncle keeps voting for Republicans who want to stop sending a small portion of our annual military budget to help Ukraine. Anyway, I think Selena and Taylor were talking about Kylie and Timothy, but got caught dishing on the tea on camera, so Selena had to deny it. And hey, how about a U.S. political story? It's an election year, after all, to which that work friend you have who believes that both sides suck says, another election. I just want to talk about Selena Gomez getting cast as Linda Ronstadt, which I do too. It's a great choice. Chris Christie, who recently apologized for voting for Donald Trump in 2016, yet seemed to forget he also did so in 2020, dropped out of the race to become the number 2 candidate for the Republican presidential nominee. And you know what? I'll miss those debate sound bites of the first son of Newark, New Jersey, hammering Vivek Ramaswamy and telling MAGA people to their dumbstruck faces that Donald Trump is a liar and a cheat. But it was never going to work out for you, Governor. The cult you run with has its leader. But before he left, Christie gave us one last good moment when part of a conversation he was having with a New Hampshire campaign chair was caught on a hot mic. In regards to Nikki Haley, Christie, a modern-day version of Leslie Nielsen in The Naked Gun, said she's going to get smoked, and you know it, and I know it. She's not up to this. Christie then said, DeSantis called me, petrified that Then the sound was cut off by a sound guy who knows he's now a day away from reactivating his premium LinkedIn account. Of course, I'm not laughing at my own joke there. There's a big pause in this thing. When he was referring to the last 2 remaining Republican presidential candidates not currently in any sort of criminal trial. Nikki, states' rights, Haley, and Ron, so this is what an AI looks like when it tries to be human, DeSantis. Did any of that make sense? All right. And those two had a big debate this week ahead of the crucial Iowa caucus, and I'll be honest, I didn't watch it. Hell, I didn't watch clips of it. Double hell. I skipped over the recap on it on my CNN 5 Things Daily News update meal. And email, that's bad. You should watch these things. You should pay attention to all the candidates, know what they're saying, and see how it sits with y'all. I really do believe that. But there's no point this time around because we all know who's showing up in the fall for this political party. We all know who's going to break through that wall like a big orange Kool-Aid man saying, oh, yeah, to his followers. And unless someone puts up a wood bar to trip him as he breaks through like a political shockmaster, Donald Trump will be the one running for this broken, feckless outrage-mongering party. And finally, Hunter Biden pleaded not guilty in a Los Angeles federal court this week to 9 federal charges, 3 of them felonies against him, based around failing to pay over $1 million in taxes and fraudulently filing forms with the IRS. In truth, it was more of a scheme to avoid paying the taxes, but he has since repaid it all. The trial is set for June this year, just in time for Republicans to use it every which way against Joe Biden, whether there's proof of Joe Biden benefiting from Hunter's dealings with foreign businesses or not. And hey, I say this, if there is proof, actual impeachable proof, we'll know soon enough, and that ain't a bad thing. But the fun wrinkle in all of this was Hunter Biden showing up on Capitol Hill the day before and crashing the hearing being held by House Republicans trying to hold Hunter in criminal contempt for ignoring a congressional subpoena to appear at a closed-door deposition related to the matter of impeaching his father, Ice Cream Joe. Hunter has said in a mock press conference outside the Capitol that day that he would be willing to speak only at a public hearing. For about 10 minutes, Hunter and his lawyers sat there as if to say, I dare you to let me speak now. While he didn't speak, members of Congress did. Democrat Jared Moskowitz dared Republicans to let Hunter speak now in front of the world, but no one took that bait. That happened after Representative Nancy Mace of South Carolina chastised Hunter for spitting in their faces and asked, "What are you afraid of? Have you no balls?" Isn't that how the duel between Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr started? Republicans tripped over themselves to try to yell at Hunter, causing Republican Andy Biggs to blurt out to his colleagues, "Don't act like a bunch of Nimrods." Too late, Andy. Way too late. And just as Margie Taylor Greene was about to put aside her Jewish space laser tinfoil hat to cut a heel promo on Hunter, Biden and his team got up and left, walking away as a certifiable nutjob Republican accused Hunter of being afraid of strong women. Folks, that was the best episode of Veep I have ever seen. The world may be burning up as we speak, literally, but who are we if we can't laugh at the Republican voters, people elected to lead us to the rest of the world? That didn't make sense. Alden, this teleprompter just broke my life. That's the news. Alden, anything you want to talk about?
Oh, man. What a time. I truly, deeply don't understand the obsession with this man's son. Like, I mean, I get it. Like, there should be a standard. There should be, an ability to say this is wrong and therefore we do X. But we know that's not how it functions here. Like, my thing is, I just want, if we're like child witch hunt equality, like where is the Jared version of this, or the Don Jr. people we know, like Don Jr. defraud charities and do things like that. We verifiably know this. So, is Hunter a kind of a crazy ass? No doubt. We've seen the photos and videos, but
thanks, Marge. Yeah, we've seen them.
Yeah. I just gotta know, like, where will this lead us in terms of, like, are they immediately going to begin the Trump kid stuff when this is over? But do the Democrats even have that sort of,
I don't know. Look, here's the thing. I don't know if they have it in them, meaning that I actually kind of mean that as a good way. I'd love to see them all prosecuted and all that come out in the wash, but this is there's other bigger fish to fry, so to speak, right? The genius of these Republicans is the perception is the reality, right? And I bet I haven't had these conversations with folks and people in my life from that side that this is all tied together, right? This is all Joe and Hunter, and this is all a work, and they've already won in my eyes. That's the danger of it, and that's the danger of the trial being set in June, where this is going to come up at water coolers, just because I've heard Hunter's laptop was the thing for years, and whether or not there's proof or not, and you and I could sit here with a reasoned face and say, yeah, if there's proof, impeach Joe. If there's proof, put Hunter in jail for 17 years, which is what he's looking at. They've already lost in the eyes of the whack jobs voting for these folks, is what I think.
This is not a game of actually trying to, bestow justice upon the system. Mm-hmm. It's not. It is entirely about shifting perspectives, because if they can somehow get Biden's son to go down before all of this happens in the fall, well, then that, because we've done a terrible job of holding anybody in their camp and their literal family accountable for anything that has happened. And a lot of that is the spinelessness of a lot of the more mainstream Dems, and how I think that the idea of going high when they go low has sort of brought us here in a lot of ways.
And look, I think you would maybe agree. I hope, I don't know, that going high is still, morally right. But if you prefer, but I always say, like in Game of Thrones, Tywin Lannister's the best because he's the best at what the world actually deems. Now he lost because he wasn't the best, and his son killed him because he didn't love his family. But that's a different conversation for another show that you and I do have. But you know what I mean? Where it's like, sometimes you want him to get dirty and win. I don't mean to be cynical about it. Like I'm watching this as close as I want. I don't want to spend a lot of time on Hunter Biden in my life, but the folks that don't read the stories, that don't get the CNN 5 Things update emails. Hunter's dirty, Joe's dirty. It's the Joe crime family, and my cult leader told me, and there we go. Go. It's frustrating.
I mean, for our first Star Wars reference of the week, because it always happens, think about how easy it is to convince people that know nothing that the sequel trilogy didn't succeed. It's extremely easy. A couple of Facebook memes will do that. So if we're able to
Yes.
make people believe that they understand box office and things like that with nothing, then trials, national coverage, photos from the Capitol, lawyers, Trump screaming and moaning, Marjorie screaming, like it, all of that, it just for an easily swayed public is
Yeah.
going to be kryptonite. I mean, it's really, really bad.
Yeah, and it fuels the both sides suck conversation that I
Mm-hmm.
have with a lot of friends who, oh, I'm not really political. Aaron Rodgers said that this week in his lame ass response to the Kimmel situation of,
Yeah.
I'm not really political. The fuck you are. You're political. Are you a
Yeah.
human being on this planet? Do you have thoughts on the world? You're political.
Yeah.
And these people who are like, I'm not really political. They're all dirty. Can't see the difference between Hunter makes a lot of mistakes that he should be punished for, and he is, versus Jared, Ivanka, and all those that whole crew, and Ivana. It's just crime family is one of our Star Wars and Galaxy comment here. The
Yeah.
Trump crime family is an actual crime family, and it all comes out equal in the internet space, and it just drives me crazy. Anyways, I keep going back to that because that's all I got today on that.
No, I agree. I mean, yeah, Eli's comment, I'll bring it up in full. Who supported insurrection and are responsible for over 350 deaths via COVID-19. There's that. There's the fraud of Trump University. There's the fraud of their golf charity situation with the children's fund. There's the all the credible allegations of assault. There's the Saudi money. There's all this stuff.
Goes on and on and on and
And
on.
right here, I'm all for Hunter Biden facing the consequences of his
Yep.
actions. He's become this absurd source of whataboutism for the
Yes.
GOP. Michael McCarthy. Yeah,
Well
100%
said,
agree.
Michael. Michael, you should be in this host chair today, as I'm still flummoxed from life. But that's the crux of my issue, where it's just like, and thanks to Space Laser Green showing those photos, it's like it's all equal in their minds. Drives me crazy. Drives me crazy, Alden.
Yeah, I just want to draw it real quick during your news. I did forget to bring up this. This is what we're talking about. Like this is the level of decorum that they think is somehow so far above Hunter
Yeah.
Biden's level of decorum, and that to me is just like, come on, like what is the standard, if
Well,
any,
I'm not,
anymore?
yeah, I'm not defending him on any level, right? I mean, maybe I am. Let's be honest, maybe I am. But like, there's that one thing that went up of like someone showed him like he had rented a waterfall slide and was going down
Mhm.
it naked, and someone tweeted out like, you couldn't make him seem more cool than
Yeah.
if you tried. Like,
Yes. He's just people are I love all of those memes like, oh, so you're telling me the first son is awesome? Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Like,
Drug problem, this, that, yeah, sex workers got it. But man, yeah, who doesn't want to go down a water slide naked? Yeah, and that's part of the absurdity as well.
he's probably the raddest hang. Yeah,
Andy has a
absolutely.
comment here I want to bring up. They point out political neutrality is just choosing violence but in a cowardly way. I really believe that, and I say that as someone who for years was like, oh, that was my response to politics. And that's because I had the privilege to do that. I had the privilege to no one in office would affect me, and that is a truth for a lot of folks. Even if it's not 100% true, but there's the people out there in the world that who's in office, as bad as both sides are, who's in office might determine their very survival, might determine their very
Mhm.
right to exist, and that's where I think political neutrality is cowardly. As Nancy Mace would say, "Do you have no balls?"
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a line in Doctor Who that my favorite incarnation, the Matt Smith version, says, where the Doctor says, "Your cowardice isn't quaint, or your cowardice isn't quiet. It's strategic, or something like that." I flubbed the quote, but that's the point.
It's a
That
day of
is the
flubs.
point. It is a day of flubs. If Charlie Ashby, birthday boy Charlie Ashby, shows up in the comments, he can write
Oh,
the
birthday
actual
boy.
thing. Yeah, this comment again, Andy. Yeah, if Hunter Biden jerked a guy off at a kids musical, I mean, that's where we're at. That I think is it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
yeah, it's just it's really
yep.
it's really mind blowing.
It is.
Um,
Yeah, yeah. But we'll
real quick,
follow it.
Stephen Turner, hello, y'all are awesome. Thank you. I'm glad that
Oh,
we
thank
could
you, sir.
talk about Hunter Biden and you'd be like, you're awesome, Stephen. You're our people.
I agree. I agree. And yeah, it's a weird week, and and the Middle East stuff, which is such a quaint way of saying it. I have to be honest. Like I'm watching as much as I can about it to try to not just be anxiety ridden into thinking that
Yeah.
these are the steps to World War III. And it's not that easy, and it's still more complicated. And there's a lot of people smarter than me going, the Yemen stuff it's possible that it would just at least expand the conflict in the region.
Yeah.
But then I look up north, and I what Sweden did, and Canada sending troops to the borders just to secure the border. And the statement was, and the statement I don't have in front of me, but to the Swedish people was like, hey, like, essentially, I'm very much paraphrasing here, but if Putin wins in the Ukraine, he's not stopping, and we're close and next, and we got to be ready for that reality. And that's why
Mhm.
I go back to I'm not I'm not in favor of war. I don't
Yeah.
like war, but
No.
there's some realities of the people out there who, if it's balance of the force, they're the ones pushing the dark side unnaturally forward. And Putin, I
Yeah.
believe, is one of those people. That's why I think a small investment of our crazy amount of money we spend on the military, anyways, some of which people want to go to hunting werewolves and skinwalkers. It's a little bit of investment on safety for the future of the region. So
Yeah.
that's where I'm at, Alden, too. Where I don't doom scroll a lot, but I've been doom reading that thing, and it's all troubling. It's all troubling.
Yeah, and in the interest of fairness, just so people aren't like this entire agenda of the show or whatever. Which, by the way, I'm not speaking for Ken. I'm speaking for myself. If you're like Alden comes to the show with an agenda, yeah, of course I do. So I'll get that out of the way.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
the other part of it is, you can pull up. It's going around a lot. Joe Biden's tweet from 2020 talking about Trump doing things without congressional approval. This Yemen stuff the bombs he's been dropping there, no congressional approval. So like, I will firmly say just because we defended his son a little bit does not mean that I also think that the Democrats are without hypocrisy, because of course they are. It's the two parties. They love hypocrisy. It's on both ends. I almost went
Yeah.
Seinfeld there. They love
I love it.
hypocrisy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw Cory Bush put out a tweet that was wrong. To be blunt with you, it's not needed, and look, we should look at that a little bit more. But it also is part of the fracture of what's going on and what's going
Mhm.
on in that region, where I worry about that leading to the Orange Kool-Aid man coming back too. So I agree with you
Yeah.
on all that. It's none of it's good. None of it's a win. It's all bad,
Yeah.
and all of
Absolutely.
this to get your Teslas on time.
The Tesla's that the software will sometimes tell you it don't work. So
Tesla is one of the companies that has now had to ship around the southern tip there. So
oh wow.
sorry for all those people who ordered your Teslas. You'll get it in 2 weeks.
I'm sure Elon will be very normal about that. Noah, our good friend who hung out with us in London, he's from Norway. He says, "Take the Swedes. We don't need them." Yeah, where's that beef between all the countries with low rates of like suicide and great prisons and all that? The people that haven't figured it out should fight, because it'll probably be a really cool looking fight.
Yeah. That very sexy people fighting all that. We know some folks in Sweden. I know I have a good friend who moved to Norway, from New York to Norway, and we take our safety. I don't say we take our safety for granted. No, we've had our safety violated before, obviously, but like that's close.
Mhm.
That's Sarah Palin close to Russian close with that fighting.
Yeah. And also, as we're winding down the news talk, we don't want to not mention, of course, everything that's happening at The Hague right now. And it's an
That's going on right now.
ongoing story. So it's, well, a lot of the stuff that we touch on today, even in entertainment, is going to be, and we will get to it. Don't worry. There's just only so many hours in the show.
Yeah.
About two, I guess. Two is not so many. But we're acknowledging that. I've been paying a lot of attention to what the South African legal representation has been saying.
Yeah.
The lawyers from Ireland, and it's this
Yeah.
feels like history book level stuff, or maybe not. Maybe they'll leave it out because they're very good at that too.
History is it's an interesting what history written by the victors. It continues to be one of the more accurate statements in the world. Yeah, no. Israel is in today their defense day, if you will, so to speak, is what I saw.
Mhm.
I did include. Yeah, there's so much going on too. The news wrap up is just what's the three biggest things I can talk about, four if we need to. But yeah, it's mind boggling. And we talked about it a couple weeks ago. How it's just like you wake up every day and you're just inundated. One of my
Yeah.
favorite words.
If anybody wants to sound off in the comments now or in any episode about how you deal with the news or how you consume it or how it fits into your day, that stuff interests me. Do
Yeah.
you just take it in over coffee, or do you discipline yourself in any particular way? Because that's something that I've had to try to figure out, is at what point am I going to make the decision to do work, edit, watch a movie, whatever. Because those doom scrolling black holes are very, very,
Real.
very real. Yeah.
Very real. Sorry, I stepped over you there, and you had an excellent point,
No,
and I stepped over you, Alden. What an
you,
asshole!
you
What an
step
asshole!
wherever you want.
It's one of those days. One of those days. I'm going to keep saying it. Well, yeah, that's a look at the news. More going on. Stay plugged in, even if you don't know everything. Even if you need more information. Even if you are reacting with your heart before your head on the news. Get in there. Get in there. Pay attention. It's
Yeah.
needed and it helps. And that's my intelligent statement on that. It's needed and it helps.
And it helps. And what else helps? Like the stream. Like the stream. Thank you,
Like the
Andy.
stream.
Like the
Like the
stream.
stream.
Share it
Uh,
around. Retweet
super
us.
Yeah, we should say super chats are appreciated. Helps keep the show going. And if you get we have any specific questions, we'll put them in a Q&A segment at the end of the show. So we appreciate those as well. Not needed to join the conversation, but always appreciated in this algorithm world as we just try to survive.
Absolutely. Got to pay the bills. Got to pay the bills so we can get those teleprompters and headphones and food
God,
for our dogs. And
it works so good. It was working every day until now, and it's not a battery issue.
I think you just did a 2-second version of the movie Click. It was working every day
It's
until
working every
now.
day. Just I don't know what happened.
Yeah. Yeah. I ignore everything and pretend bad things don't exist.
There you
Well,
go.
you might be an American, Bradley Pooper. You might
That's
be an American.
it helps. And look, and some days I say those days are needed. Go get a frozen yogurt, a Carl's Jr. hamburger, and just mash them together and eat them.
Be like Paul Giamatti and take your success to In-N-Out and just hang out
Yeah.
there. If you like In-N-Out, I know that's a hot button issue forever, especially in
I don't love it.
Yeah.
I don't love it. If I was to ever win a Golden Globe, I don't see that in my future. I would definitely go to Del Taco. Definitely be the winner.
I hyped it up too much, Ken. It was after one of the Star Wars events out there. My first time, I was like, "Here it comes, here it goes, we're going." Oh my god, I got it! And sat down and I took a couple bites of that burger, marinated for a second in my mind, and said, "This is good." And that's about where I fell on it. This is as some of the most annoying Twitter users say, mid. It was fine.
I take a lot of heat for my anti In-N-Out stance. Meaning I've had it and like you said, it's good. It's good. It's food. It's fast food. What do you want? There's a Bible verse on the bottom of the cup so you can get enlightened as you eat. Like got it.
Wait, really?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
No. What?
Oh my. Yeah.
What is the lore with that?
In-N-Out was started by Jesus. At least one of his followers. Again, I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with Jesus. I don't have
Me neither.
a problem with his followers sometimes. But on the bottom, it might just be John 3:16, but there's like a verse on the bottom of the cups if you look.
Fascinating. Oh man, it's starting in the comments. In-N-Out stand reporting for duty. Five Guys better in every way. Shake Shack even better. And then there he is, birthday boy.
Birthday
Happy
boy,
birthday, Charlie.
Charlie celebrating over there in the UK where they don't have like In-N-Out. They have mash and bum or something like that. They got something.
Yeah,
So.
Charlie, go get a #1 from Mash and Bum for your birthday. Also, Charlie, you weren't here yet. What's the quote in Doctor Who God Complex about cowardice being quaint? Put it in the comments. Wow. Oh man, people immediately get so. Is anything more passionate than the fast food wars?
Oh no, this is if we wanted massive ratings and controversy, we would just do one of those, March Madness hamburger polls. Like you see podcasts do it every time.
Yeah.
It's
I'm sort of like we should get like 2 or 3 of our friends and do a special on the Clips channel.
It comes down to regional stuff too. I'll enjoy a Carl's Jr. Western bacon cheeseburger, but like past Missouri and Mississippi River, it's a Hardee's Western thick burger. Like what's the difference? You got to there's a lot of things to factor in. I contend the Double Del cheeseburger is one of the best fast food burgers out there, but a lot of people don't have access to Del Taco.
Burgatory is a great name. Jerry's been listening to the show driving home in the snow. I am the most committed listener. Here it is. Now I see why your cowardice isn't quaint. It's sly, aggressive. It's how that gene of gutlessness has survived while so many others have perished. Man, they
There
were
you go.
cooking in Doctor
They
Who
were cooking.
season. Oh man,
And then King Sporkhouse says, "Fast food's terrible for you. Don't eat it." You're not wrong, Cal. You're not wrong.
Kingsburg Cal,
Uh,
you're better than I am. Send
well,
us recipes.
that is technically the end of our news segment, which means, Alden, we're gonna head on to we have entertainment kind of dominates again this week. Not just
Yeah.
social issues, but entertainment. What do you got?
Yeah, so everybody that clicked on this, of course, we will be getting to the huge George Carlin AI just mess, quite frankly. But I wanted to rattle off some things because the focus will be comedy. There are two big comedy things that we both knew we wanted to talk about this week. I'm going to rattle through some things that will not get their full attention. They just won't, not here. If any of them jump out that you have, quick hits on, absolutely. But just to put it in perspective for people watching how loaded a week can be in the biz we call show. Amazon to lay off hundreds of Amazon Prime, MGM, and Twitch employees. Pixar gets ready for cuts estimated to equal of 20% of the team, which is horrifying. That team is only 1,300 people. It's terrible. Lucasfilm announced The Mandalorian and Grogu because they have no plan and the brand is collapsing. Oh, wait, sorry. That wasn't actually in my notes. That was programmed into me. Top Gun 3 is officially happening, and Tom Cruise expands his Hollywood powers over at Warner because I guess sometimes cultists win. SAG-AFTRA is under fire after a controversial AI voiceover agreement with Replica Studios that nobody consented to. And Kimmel destroyed Aaron Rodgers in his monologue. Rodgers doubled down right before his season segment on McAfee's show ended. So some people say he was ousted. Some people say he would have been gone anyway. That's for McAfee to know. And for McAfee to say nothing about, I'm sure. Now,
they didn't say much. Just we're positive.
Anything there you want to jump, or do you want to jump right into comedy?
No. I am concerned about the layoffs, and these are entertainment ones. I saw Citicorp was going to lay off 2,000 or 20,000 or 200,000 employees. At this point, it doesn't matter. It's a lot of employees. I think it was 20,000. And this keeps going, and it's nothing new. It's the same old song, but the Amazon one. Like with Twitch, it's that same thing. Twitch gets created. Twitch has a founder. Twitch is a CEO. The CEO cashes out. I'm fine with that. That's your right to do that. That's kind of the goal. And then this destruction of these companies start to happen. It always starts to happen, and it creates a lot of fear. It creates not just like there's people. I'm one of them. I don't know where to go next in terms of jobs. Writing jobs, internet channels, all that kind of stuff. This is why I'm putting a lot of energy in what we do here and Force Center and other things. Like, I don't know where to go next. And I don't need anyone to care about me, but this is constantly happening. And these people don't have other studios to go to. And that's concerning. It's concerning that the power keeps getting consolidated. Like, this is what Robert Reich keeps tweeting about if you follow him, former, labor Secretary of Labor under Clinton, and he's got a great YouTube channel. Just the inequality of wealth continues to grow because of things like this, because of companies. And companies got to make decisions, but it's they got to do things. I get it, but it's every one of these. The Twitch statement was horrifying. Oh, we've right-sized our company, and it's a painful day. But anyways, 500 people are gone. It just keeps going on, and it just bums me out more than anything. It's a reality, but it bums me out.
Yeah, and when things change, often for the worse within these platforms, as they did with Twitter, when they started gutting engineers and everything, when Twitch or Prime or anything faces a downturn of any kind, they'll sit around and wonder, how could that be? How could that be? How could that be? How could less people putting their blood, sweat, and tears into a thing make it less functional? That's just I don't understand.
I don't understand.
Yeah. It's fascinating. Robert Reich is very based. I agree. He is very based. I
don't know if that's good or bad.
Based is good. This is good. What I guess. Okay. Based is more of our age group slang thing. I first heard the word based, I think, in whenever Thrawn was coming to Star Wars Rebels, someone referred to Dave Filoni as based Filoni, and I was like, I guess based is good.
I've heard it. I'm not an idiot. I've heard it. It's the it's the mid thing. Mid sounds bad. Based sounds bad to me, but also less
Yeah.
it's like base, like he's the foundation for something stronger. I don't know where it comes from. I think as you get older, I try to keep up. I don't want to be left behind, and I want to
Yeah.
change, and I want to help the next generation, but I want to be part of things. But there's 2 to 5 things you get to just go, I don't know, I'm old.
I am going to read the Urban Dictionary definition now
Thank you.
live.
Okay.
Uh, a word used when you agree with something or when you want to recognize someone for being themselves, i.e., courageous and unique or not caring what others think, especially common in online political slang. The opposite of cringe, sometimes the opposite of biased. Very interesting.
Okay. It clarifies. Okay. So it's a good thing.
Yes. Yes. I
Okay.
do. I do enjoy it. Sometimes
Okay.
even rebel based. Thank you for that, Maddie. Love you.
Yeah. Thank you, Maddie. Go back to sleep. All right.
Now,
It's evening there. No.
now you might have heard of this little thing called the Golden Globes,
I've
and
heard
you
about it.
you might have heard that sometimes people make other people laugh for money. That's something you can do as a job. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah. I've heard of it.
You heard of it? Maybe brushed up against it a couple times. It's really something to see just how much award shows can rile people up, even when nobody gets hit, even when they're not trying to drag an indigenous woman off the stage like back in the Brando
Yeah.
era.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's always been a thing, and this one is not. I will say it's not aggressively offensive. It's not violent. It's not. It's just a culmination of different factors. So Joe Coy,
Yeah.
somebody who I will preface this by saying I've spoken to at least a couple times. He was a friend of a radio show I worked on, and I literally got the man's cell phone number, and he has never been anything but kind.
Call him. Get him on the show.
Oh God, could you imagine? Hey, did you want to talk? Click, because that's been his entire week. It's got to be just miserable after that. So I will say that I don't think that I want to kick the man for bombing, and I want to make that clear. And I don't think anybody should be kicked for bombing unless it was like horrendous, like unless it was like mean spirited in a societally bad way. Because I know people will be like, well, what about when Kramer? I get it. The Golden Globes, I want to start here. A lot of this, we're going to switch to a tiny bit of an interview format because non-comedian talking to comedian. How do we feel, first and foremost, about the hosting role on its own? Because there are hosts of all kinds of things. And then, secondly, awards hosting role.
Yeah. Look, I'll say it too as well. I don't know Joey Coy. I know a lot of people that do, and he's a talented comic with a great following, and has a a good reputation. I'll say in terms of he's not on any lists I know of, and there's lists that go around of other comics, but I don't know the whole story. So if something comes out, we live in that time where you have to preface that. And I agree with you. I'm not here to kick him when he's down. Though it was the big giant gig, and everyone's saying his name, so it might not be as bad. As far as hosting. I did a lot of hosting as a stand-up in my early days. I hosted a ton of shows. It is a different skill set than stand-up, straight up stand-up. It's different, and I'm sure Joe has experience with that. But award show, I just think I was telling you, we were having this conversation via text this week because I prepared to defend him a lot more than others because I am a comic. There's the comic code. It's kind of like if you're not allowed in a wrestling locker room. Be careful what you say about a wrestling locker room around people who are in the locker room, right? So there's a little bit of that energy I have of just like there's a lot of people jumping on him who couldn't do 2 minutes at an open mic. That said, I think award show hosting is outdated. I think it is a thankless gig. And I've heard all of this week. I'm not saying anything new. It's a thankless gig. It's a cold room. It's a rich room. He's not on their level. They don't need anything from him. They do need something from Colbert or Letterman or Carson or any of the hosts, or they at least have a respect for him. Tina Fey and Amy Poehler are great. Don't forget, though, they also did a joke about Taylor Swift that got Taylor so mad she spoke about it in interviews afterwards. So it's not exclusive to Joe Coy here. But I think we need to reevaluate. I know one of the award shows a while ago tried the hostless one. You do need someone to drive us through segments and everything like that. But I think I have, as we go on, I'll pitch it back to you. I have problems with, I watched his monologue this morning, Alden, and here's what I'll say. Because I was like, I'd watched clips, but I was like, I watched it all this morning.
Hmm.
It wasn't as bad as advertised, meaning it had some reactions, it had some laughs, it had some energy to it. I just think also there's a conversation to be had around that kind of humor, the roast style humor, which isn't necessarily his normal style. The commentary on you got to talk about everything in the room kind of comedy. And I agree with a lot of criticism against his jokes. That the perspective of his jokes was off. And we got a comment we're going to come back to that I actually agree with him to a degree on. But the jokes about Barbie, the takes out there, I think are correct. I think that's the stuff that's got to change. And a lot of comics can't see that, and I have thoughts on that why. But that's my opening statement. If any of that made sense.
No, it did. It would make a lot of sense. I'm glad you touched on things like Tina and Amy, because my gut reaction as somebody who is very not just passionate about movies, but like follows awards, watches the shows, loves it, makes a thing of it, really loves these people, loves this business, but also really likes comedy. And I've seen a couple of Joe's specials, and I know a lot of people have seen him live. Joe hits that, your mom and dad like him, for a lot of people, and
Sure.
he has very much a style rooted in cultural background and things like that. So
Yeah,
he
yeah,
has
yeah, yeah.
told some stories that are very, very funny and very personal to a lot of people. So my perspective immediately when I saw because my thing was, oh, Joe's bombing, and then
Yeah.
okay, what's the further context? Well, 10 days of prep. You have some people, some of them who were the writers that got later thrown under the bus, which we'll talk about, saying 10 days, that's more than enough. This crunch of this event, this crunch of this. So whether or not that's good enough, I guess, is up to the person.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I think he was brave to take it with that little time. Not brave in the sense of the actual world and the events, but
Yeah.
there's that's not a lot of time to prep and I also I don't think he was, and he admitted it was childish or whatever he said to or amateurish or
Yeah.
rookie-ish, I think, to
Rookie
call
move.
out his rookie
Yeah.
move to call out his writing staff. Yeah, absolutely. But in the moment, again, I watched it in the moment. I'm like, he was doing a club set. Like
Hmm.
I've joked around of not that I don't have writers or anything, but like I've joked around about the environment. He's
Yeah.
in he's doing a set, and so
Yeah.
when I actually saw that in full context, it was like he wasn't. Yes, he was calling out at the end of the day. He's calling out the writers, but it was part of the energy of what was going on, and I don't agree with it. And he doesn't. It sounds like he didn't agree with it, but yeah, it was all part
Yeah.
of that prep situation.
People make suboptimal decisions when they're trying to be present and they can't be.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about bombing just as a concept. That's one of the things I want to touch on. But it is also on the producers and the organizers for picking a host with such short notice. A lot of people are bringing up what is the tone of the Globes. Jared bringing up rightfully. Ricky did it 5 times. Gervais did it
Mm-hmm.
5 times and created a culture of this is the show that goes too far. We're serving alcohol and we're going to
Yeah.
blast people. And
Yeah.
5 occasions of that does create a little bit of a culture. It does create a
It
little
does.
bit of that
It
room. It
does.
has an understanding. So there's a little bit of that. Now, there's also the context of this being the first new Globes that we
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
rid of our problematic voting body. The Hollywood Foreign Press Association doesn't exist
Yeah.
anymore. So a lot of change. Part of my, not frustration, but my pushback on because Michael Che did a tongue-in-cheek sort of no comedian should take any of these gigs anymore. It was multiple slides of him blasting the whole idea and breaking it down, and then the last slide was, and I'll never do one unless I'm asked. So it's like,
Yeah.
of course Che he's being funny
Yeah.
about it. The whole idea, though, to me, non-comedian again, that it shouldn't be done, can't be done, I immediately go to Tina, Amy, Mulaney, Crystal, Megan Mullally, Colbert, of course. I think Jost and Shay did fine with their Emmys. I think lots of people. I do think it can be done, but it's again producer short notice and producer talent relationship of who are these people. It is made to look even worse now this week because then the Governor's Awards done by the Academy surprise the crowd with Mulaney,
Yeah.
who was not advertised, and he kills. and he
Yeah.
absolutely kills. Now here's why, in my opinion, non-comic again.
No, no.
he
You're in
he
the audience.
understands, yeah, he understands the cinematic community. He's got a
Hmm.
foot in it, in as much as he's been appearing in more films, and he was in the most celebrated and award nominated episode of The Bear this year. He's got that knowledge. He can say a really specific editor joke about Kevin Costner's early days in that room, and just tell an anecdote with his delivery, and it works. It's both a he can rise to that occasion because he gets it, and a whoever decided to choose him understood why choosing him would have value. And I think that that's like, you wouldn't, I don't think we would pick either of us to go host a show that was like, you know, a banquet for some organization that we just completely had nothing to do with or didn't agree with.
But I've done that, and
Yeah.
it's horrendous.
Yeah.
Mulaney's a talent, and again, Joe Coy is a talent. I've seen Mark Ellis host from Schmoedown Awards to serious things, and he's great at it because there's a politicalness to it that I think's needed that I think was lacking in this one. Like, again, I watched it. A lot of people reacted to it. I didn't. Again, once I actually saw it, I was like, it wasn't as bad as Twitter said. But I think there were some valuable conversations about the targets, the Barbie boob joke, all the stuff that factors into stuff I've even last week said on the show about what I think
Yes.
comics are missing about what Lenny Bruce and Carlin were doing. So that's why I think those are very valuable conversations. But to your point, like, yeah. It's you got to know that room. You got to have some kind of credibility, and you got to get them on your side. He didn't have them on their side from the beginning, and I experienced that in Seattle in December. I did 2 very bad shows. And the frustrating thing is, and this is why I think as a comic you do kind of get defensive. Like, Joe Coy is probably funnier than anyone in that room, but he walked away from that event. No one considered him that. I ranted on stage about this one time. It's deep in my YouTube channel where I just like, I'm funnier than any of you in this crowd, but you see me tomorrow and I'm having a bad set. You're like, there's that unfunny asshole, and that burns us. But we can't change it. You can't change it. You have bad nights, and a lot of it is it's not the material, it's the connection. It's the connection in the audience. His jokes might have landed if they were on his side early, and that's sometimes impossible to do, and sometimes it's easy to do. And sometimes comedy, you're rewarded in the great doc Comedian, which is I recommend people watch, though it does end up with Cosby, so be warned. But there's some great insight to Colin Quinn's got a great thing in that. It's like comedy. You could be Jack Nicholson, and you get on stage, and people applaud wildly for 2 minutes. And if you're not funny, doesn't matter who you are. And I think that was on display there too. That's kind of the knowing the audience and sticking in the pocket and hitting your jokes, even if you throw an interception.
Yeah, and in terms of that perception, I mean, we hear it even outside of comedy. We've both been to a lot of comic conventions and celebrations and things. How often have you heard someone say, "Oh, such and such actor, what a dick," but you're like, "I've met them and they were lovely." It's like maybe you caught them on that day, and and so that perception festers. But then you also, consider. I will also give a content warning on the thing I'm about to cite. There is that HBO special, Talking Funny, which is not aged well because it's Louis C.K., Gervais, Seinfeld, and Rock. And they're talking, and I think it's a great conversation. Again, when it aired,
it's a great conversation. But yes,
when it aired, it was a lot more palatable. And Seinfeld talks about not playing colleges anymore because his understanding of that audience is that the second you go up, and maybe this is everywhere too, the social contract of comedian and crowd is by me picking up this microphone as comic. I believe I am funny enough to make you laugh. And there's something that happens in the brain where the brain can't help but go, "Oh, really? You think?"
Oh,
that?
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
so that "oh, really"ness for people that are, as Michael Che pointed out, LeBron in the finals for movies, it becomes very difficult. So that could you have made a joke about how Oppenheimer is based on American Prometheus and Barbie is based on toys? Yes.
Yeah.
Because there is a funny irony there. But boobs with Greta and Taylor and Dua Lipa and Margot and all these people sitting there is not the path to that.
it speaks to what but the Seinfeld thing comes. I mentioned this book last week, and I mumbled it. This Cliff Nesterhoff's book, Outrageous: History of Showbiz and the Culture of Sport. It mentions the Seinfeld talking about I don't want to do colleges and how that's not new, and how this idea that everyone's just offended is not new,
Yeah.
and it's changed, and it's important to track the changes over the years, because often it's no one loves my blackface anymore is prevalent in the story of this book. It's a very valuable and insightful book. But I just think going to the point, like there's ways to make that comparison and do it in a way that doesn't seem like you're, especially in that room, that you're dismantling everything that movie Barbie fought for, right?
Hmm.
And I think that was
Yeah.
what was on display. And I want to talk a little bit. You have some great questions here about of what Joy. I keep saying Joy because Joe Coy, two words squished together. Joe Coy
Hmm.
said. So I'll get to a little bit more of that, but the hard thing for comics, even those well-intentioned comics, and maybe even myself, is comedy clubs are this little kind of sanctuary,
Hmm.
and if you, and I don't mean you, I mean the general public, Twitter
Yeah.
sphere, they watch the Barbie joke, and they rip into Coy as a person, and they rip into comedy and all that kind of stuff for, as I've said several times, justifiable, understandable reasons about the jokes. You keep telling that to comics, and then comics go on the road. I know there's one guy I used to work with him, and I hadn't seen him in years. And Ellis was doing some sets in Vegas, and I went out, and the guy was headlining, and I was like, oh my god.
Mm.
And I didn't realize he's all an anti cancel culture guy. He's every joke is about a racial difference or a racial stereotype and
Mm.
all this stuff, right? The word "killed" doesn't even cover what he did for the 3 nights I saw him. Everyone in that crowd, a wide variety of people watching, by the way, it's Vegas, loved him. And afterwards, he's selling merch, and you can't cancel me or whatever it is. And people are give me one of those shirts. So then if I try to tell, because I ran into him again, and we were having a conversation in a green room with some other comics, and someone brought up politics, and he's this guy, he's a white guy, and he's like, oh, politics, right? Hey, who do you think is going to win the next election? That guy or this guy? Like, it's a difference. And he starts, and everyone in the room's kind of like, you can't tell that guy that your jokes are hurting people because he's making thousands of dollars every weekend getting standing ovations from crowds
Hmm.
about his jokes. And that's the disconnect that I think sometimes behind this fight between society and comics. And why it's
Yeah.
hard to get through to even someone like Chappelle or something, that I think your words matter, and you're probably hurting someone, and you got to understand, not just if you're not hurting the person there, you're connecting with people who then take that message out and hurt the other people. That's part of what's going on. And Coy's joke about the Barbie movie is it's so reductive, and it's so simple, and it's silly, but it will fuel that thought for other people. Oh, that Barbie
Hmm.
movie is just about boobs. And that's the danger. But I'm trying to, and I'm not saying as a defense of comics, I'm trying to say that's why there's a disconnect, and there's often comics get defensive online,
Yeah.
these big giant comics, is because they go nightly to clubs where everyone in that crowd eats this up. And
Yeah.
it's hard to comprehend sometimes.
The echo chamber of money and of factual statistical box office success is difficult to shatter. And you're right, like like the Chappelle special that came out a couple weeks ago, he's had that Netflix deal, and they've all
Yeah.
just ramped up the same issue that people have been talking about, with increasing joke frequency. And it's at the point where nobody is saying that Chappelle is no longer box office, or that he doesn't have the freedom to do those things. What we are saying is, does he realize, and maybe he does or doesn't, maybe he doesn't care, maybe, I don't know,
Maybe
that
doesn't care.
he's creating an environment where people will take those things out into the world, but also do any type of echo chamber. Wrestling locker room's a great comparison. Do they think about the next generation coming up under them and what that culture is like? I mean, if you ask a lot of women and non-binary people within the comedy world, they would probably say, no, they're not thinking about us and the up and comers and the people breaking in. And so it's like, yeah, Joe, I have Joe's quote here, if you've seen me, you'll see just how much I praise and shine light on women. I'm telling a joke. What happened to society where we can't even joke with each other anymore? And it's such an easy fallback. I think that whenever a guy with a lot of money is criticized, they immediately say, what happened to society where we can't? No one said you can't. That was never said. It was never uttered. It was never implied that you can't. It was just the, if you are in that position, should you not be the one trying to do better, innovate, find the unique angle? And maybe that's the 10 days thing. Maybe that's the 10 days thing. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I see. That's what I said. Where like I slightly agree with him in a sense.
Yeah.
Meaning, I do feel I've gotten to the point now where I do feel like we're all. It's not that people are offended. It's we're all on pins and needles. And I've seen that at comedy clubs where it's a funny a joke or a side. It's something you might say between friends, and not that that makes it right, but you know what I mean. Like where suddenly like the crowd is like they look around, and that's where a lot of the laughter is. They look around. It's not like they're like they're like can't and there's a lot of that, and it's hard to navigate sometimes because it can change, man. It can change. You know, I want to change. And I think my whole act is based around me trying to reconcile that I need to change because the world as it moves forward is right. But you know, it's hard. So I'm not defending all of it. It's just like I used to do a joke about my car getting graffitied, and the joke included the words that were on my car. It was a real story. I would not dare do that joke anymore because it doesn't need to be done in that way. I'm proud of the joke. I used to do it in downtown LA at a mostly black comedy club, and I would be applauded and carried off as a champion for this joke. It was really funny to them. I don't know if that would be now because times have changed, and I think a lot of the comics are struggling with that because of what I said. What do you mean I need to change? I'm being applauded every night. And then because the rest of the world's watching in a way they weren't doing back when I was doing that joke, right? And it's not about even the words I have in the thing. It's just about my perspective. It's not needed anymore. That joke needs to go away. That approach needs to go away. And that's the struggle. That's as I try to understand even where because I have a lot of problems with these comics, right? I have a lot of even the really, really fucking funny ones. I'm like, but your perception is off. Right. Where your jokes are coming from is off. It's potentially destructive, and you don't care. Because why would you if 700 people over a weekend are applauding you every night? Or, you know, 200 or 300 in a showroom. So anyways, I don't know if that makes any sense. I'm trying to not come down the middle. I'm trying to explain it from a comics perspective because we do rally around each other. It's Gad, like that stuff serious. Like wrestling locker rooms. You're a good friend of mine. If I was still working with MPW, I wouldn't allow you in the wrestling locker room. You haven't earned it. And there's a code there. I still don't go to green rooms at comedy shows unless I'm invited. And so we circle around to our detriment. Cops do that, firefighters do that, politicians. We all probably do that. We circle around. And it just, I see it happen time and time again with comics where it's just like, we rally around. We understand it more than other people. That's why Mark and I was talking, like, I'll give comics the benefit of the doubt to try to work out what your point is. But at some point you gotta change. And this was an example of an audience going, it ain't working. It ain't working, pal. And that's hard to comprehend.
And then that became the conversation once we had, and we're about to have Kimmel again, for the Oscars. So we'll see what he does. But when you had Mulaney in the same week, that to me was no, it's not, because I think it's very easy to be like, well, they have money and they're incapable of laughter. It's like, what are you talking about? Half of them make comedy. That to me, I completely resent and am very annoyed by, because when you have them in the same week, the same people at the same table arrangements, because they're by film, just rolling, just dying. It's not that they don't like comedy, that they think comedy is lesser. Maybe some of them do think that. I'm not in their minds. But en masse, it's like nobody is saying stand-ups don't have a place at this, because Eddie Murphy, Jim Carrey, Adam Sandler, like these are people that have transcended and become their peer. It's not that. There is no actors and directors versus comedians. It's just what are you doing and why? It's such an individualized thing. And last thing I wanted to touch on is the idea of bombing and recovery and sort of like that sympathy, because it's like I got really, really annoyed at him and pissed when he did the writers thing. But then when he himself said, rookie move, I shouldn't have done it. We make suboptimal decisions, like I said. And I'm just curious, if you have either advice or for anybody watching or and sort of an emotional insight into how that is. Can you recover? Do you have to just accept the loss and
Just have to accept the loss.
stick to the plan and let it go down?
No, no. I mentioned it. I closed out the year with 2 shows in Seattle, and I didn't have great shows. I didn't have bad shows, but it was not unlike Joe Coy's set, where it was just flat. Everyone kind of stared at me. Some people giggled, and that's on me. And I think there's sometimes you can. It's never a good job to blame the audience, but there's sometimes that they're not innocent as an audience. Audiences have energies. They have collective energies. And there are sometimes very tight crowds, sometimes very tired crowds. Sometimes there's the highly intellectual alt comedy crowd that might just nod. Hey, your joke is funny. I like it. So audiences do matter, but you got to connect to them. And when I fail, it's not necessarily the words. It's the conviction and the energy and the connection. Am I looking them in the eyes? And I fail that. I have social anxiety, right? When getting on stage as a comic for me is the last bastion. I could do this all day with you for 5 hours. It doesn't matter. On stage, that's the last bastion of my 12-year-old self-loathing and inadequacy feelings. And they emerge on stage sometimes a lot. And they emerge on stage. If I don't, it's not about just getting a laugh, but if I get on stage and I feel they hate me, I go in that cocoon. And even the best comics, there's nights, I've seen them, man. There's nights where they're not connecting. And some have the advantage of being who they are. They've earned it over the years. It's there. I was at the store about 2 months ago, maybe, when Bill Burr dropped by. He's always there. It's not a unique thing, but he dropped by. Bill Burr dropped by, dropped in on a set in the original room. He's got all the currency in the world. The crowd immediately sits up straight and they're paying attention and they're locked in. And I've seen other comics with lesser names who they walk in and they're very funny. And it's like the crowd's just like, we don't know you. We don't know you. So you have to work through that. It's very psychological. And like I said, I've always was the funnier guy in the office. I was the funnier guy in the friends group. I'm actually like considered the comics comic, one of the funnier guys within the comic groups. But it doesn't always translate. In fact, often doesn't translate to success because it's a real psychological hit that I can't get over that other comics can. And so that's part of the psychological effects of bombing and getting through it. But I look at it, I'm a sports fan. Mark Ellis and I are the ones who we work together the most, at least for me with him. We talk things in sports. It's about a quarterback. Stay in that pocket. You threw an incomplete pass, stay in that pocket. Complete the next pass. And you can recover. You can get them back. You can win them over. And sometimes the way to do that is to be honest about the situation, not defending it. He fought against it. Joe said he was wrong, but the writer thing was a in the club, in the moment, like, I didn't even write all these things. It probably just naturally slipped out. I've done stuff like that too. You're in the room, you're in the moment, because if you're not honest with what's going on, they all know it's not working. So if you don't acknowledge it, you don't have a chance to get them back. And that's how it works in clubs. I don't know if that's how it works in the Golden Clubs.
Yeah. I would bring this up real quick just to Steve R. Let's get straight. No one can be offended. No one has said that. I want to make that clear. And I'm not saying that aggressively at you, Steve, but literally no one has said that. You have the freedom to say whatever you want. You have the freedom to dislike whatever you want. You have the freedom to be offended or not. There's literally there is as much of a war on comedy speech as there is on Christmas. It's only as much of a war as you think there is. It's no one's.
And as a comic, that's the thing where I'm saying where like to offend shouldn't be the goal, and sometimes you can't help that. Like I said, I have offended people on stage back in the mid 2000s. There was a different. The context of the mid 2000s in comedy was let's all be edgelords and let's all find where we can push the boundaries. And it's I've had I remember 2 audience members got up and walked out on something I did. Wasn't even tremendously horrible. Just was like, there's no reason for me to tell them a joke. Offenses, offense is a weird thing sometimes. I think there's a lot of pearl clutching. But I question the comics who don't understand the weight of their words. What's the goal? Are you here to entertain and enlighten, or are you here to attack?
And I think, the last point on this, because we do have to get to the other comedy story. My last point, I think of Tiffany Haddish. I think she was in Miami. I know we talked about it on the rock station I was on, but she lost a hold of one of her jokes and kind of, I don't know if it was a bombing or a stumbling, but she ended up forgetting her material, and she was able to turn that into a really endearing moment. And she kind of
Yeah.
just like sat down and just turned it into a talk back. Like she was just like, I
Yeah.
lost it. Sorry guys. Let's hang. Like
Yeah, like pro wrestling telling a story with prearranged violence.
yeah.
If look at the Rock Hogan moment at what, WrestleMania 17 or 18.
Mm-hmm.
They had to change. They realized the plan wasn't going to work. So let's change it. Um, I don't love Hulk Hogan, who he is overall in life, but that's one of the greatest wrestling moments, I think. It's
Yeah.
one of the greatest matches because of that. That's how comedy works too. But I think in an award show, when it's not people, the illusion is you're just making it all up on the spot and chatting with people, but everyone knows that's not true unless you're doing a lot of crowd work. But that's what you got to connect to. And sometimes what you're describing with Tiffany Haddish is, all right, that ain't working. Let's be honest about it. And that works
Yeah.
sometimes. Sometimes.
Absolutely. So one thing you touched on in there is sort of the unspoken fraternity slash sorority of the comedian and the way that they stick together. Let's talk about something that I think a lot of people are rightfully calling a betrayal. We have this George Carlin. I'm glad I'm dead. I don't even want to call it a special. An AI, the Dudesy AI that is used, created, and does a podcast. Again, I hate referring to this thing as a person. It is Will Sasso and Chad Kultgen who come together and do the Dudesy podcast. The AI is the third host. They have already done this and faced legal action or the threat of legal action from Tom Brady, a special that was then taken down. And here they are with what has already been explicitly confirmed by Kelly Carlin to be a no permission granted situation, a Carlin special of him talking about current topics, billionaires, trans rights, different things, etc. Kelly Carlin, I want to read her quote to start us off, says, "My dad spent a lifetime perfecting his craft from his very human life, brain, and imagination. No machine will ever replace his genius. These AI-generated products are clever attempts at trying to create a mind that will never exist again." She pointed out the fact that he has 14 specials to choose from if you want to watch them that are available everywhere. And then she also reached out to, I think wisely and smart to do it in public, Robin Williams' daughter, Zelda Williams, also filmmaker, Lisa Frankenstein coming up, her feature film, Joan Rivers' daughter, Melissa Rivers, and the official Twitter account, I guess, run by the estate of Gary Shandling, the late Gary Shandling. Now, visceral reaction to this on my part was just disgust. Just immediate, like, disgust on the level of it shouldn't exist, disgust on the level of the precedent it sets, and disgust on the level of these are comics. Like, this is Will Sasso at Mad TV. Just why? I don't understand the motivation there.
I'm still confused. I watched about 5 minutes of the special this morning. I watched about 20 minutes of their show, the Dudesky show. I know it's funny. I bombed in front of Will Sasso one night about 2006. He was in the front row, not laughing at me. And he's great with impersonations. Impersonation comedy isn't necessarily my favorite, but it works well in sketches and all that kind of stuff. He's got a great Jesse Ventura.
He does. That's true.
I don't even. A lot of you have a right to be disgusted. Dare I even say offended? Everyone out there has some strong reactions to this, as they should. I'm confused beyond belief because I watched what was happening on this show. It's been going for 2 years, by the way. Mm-hmm. An AI produced comedy show. Cool. Whatever. They played the clip. I don't know if you watched it all. So the AI plays the clip. The co-host Dudesky plays the clip. They watch a few minutes of the Carlin thing, and they react to it. And like I think Will was confused, and then, even though they've taken part of this before, it scared him. I'm not saying that to defend them or the show. It's bizarre. I'm just confused. It's beyond a 5-minute sketch of doing a deep fake George Lucas. It's beyond a Saturday Night Live. And the special starts with the AI saying, again, this is like an impersonation. I'm doing an impersonation. But it's not being presented. And then there was this thing of like, now we'll get to bring back all these comics that have passed away. Richard Pryor, Robin Williams, Sam Kinison. And the AI is running through this list with AI produce pictures of them, and I'm just like, what? But why? I'm just confused, Alden, as to
Yeah.
why we're at this point and why it
It
can't stop.
really it really is confusing. And again, I don't know why a comedian would go for it. I don't know how they can call it an impression. I don't know what how they're justifying it to themselves. It's it's almost like, like there's like the whole situation of like likeness rights and things that has always been around in Hollywood.
Yeah,
But it's likeness, face, voice, IP, all these things that happen, and then so it's all those things combined, and then Kelly Carlin is a public figure, author, person who exists, who is intimately tied to her. It's not like she had no
yeah,
relationship with
yeah,
him and is no one.
yeah, yeah.
And yeah,
Because again, it's where we're at with it all. And I'm going to admit something here too. Like I listened to about 5 minutes of it. It wasn't like, this is great. I was mesmerized by how that even like it's not like 100% perfect voice. The cadence is down. It's not what I think the material is good or not. I just was like, you could convince someone that this is real. You could convince
that's
someone
the,
that this
the
is
scary
real.
part. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there's those, and look, I will say right here, people that know, yeah, I've laughed at the Obama, Trump, and Biden play a video game audios that you can hear. Like, some of them are kind of funny, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's yeah, that's the danger where I'm going, where it's like I didn't see their Brady one, but even going back to like, I was leaving Collider when they did the deepfake things, and some people have strong opinions of them. By the way, it wasn't the reason that the whole place shut down. I'll defend the team for that. There's a lot of other things that were at play. It's where the owner wanted to go, and he was obsessed with the tech, and that's not a problem to me. But I didn't like the sketches, but Mark was in one and everything. Even I think it's even different than that, because that's being presented as a joke. That's being presented as, hey, with this technology, we can make it seem it's George. Now, some people might be confused and fall for George Lucas actually being in that,
Yeah,
but it's not Will Ferrell doing it, because the AI actually says this in the intro. It's like Will Ferrell doing George Bush. No, it's not. No
it's
one
not.
for a second thought that was George W. Bush on Saturday Night Live.
Exactly. It's about the
People,
honesty of the social
yeah,
contract. Like,
yeah,
do we? I didn't think. I didn't think that Jordan Peele was Obama when I watched Key and Peele. I didn't think any of these things.
good
It's
one.
sort of.
Yeah.
It is good, and it's like, why are we? I don't think we need to slap labels on things, like when people in England were pushing for Netflix's The Crown to say it's not a documentary. They don't need to say that. They don't need to say it. But
I always say
this is
anytime
being
something like that's
marketed.
happened, someone's been sued somewhere.
Yeah, but this is being marketed. Part of the problem that we're touching on is this is being marketed as George Carlin, I'm Glad I'm Not Dead, an AI Carlin special with no one. Like, Charlie brings up, I was laughably appalled by the news over Christmas that Jimmy Stewart's voice was going to be a new narrator on the Calm app with his family's blessing, but still so bizarre. I think bizarre. I think the family permission thing and the collaboration thing. Like, I'm a Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, Mark Hamill defender, because Mark is there in
Yeah,
costume, basically co-directing, coaching, giving notes. That's different than Peter Cushing. It's different than Jimmy Stewart on Calm. And this is completely
it's
the other way.
yeah. I also like the use of the character. I think going forward, I'd like to see recast for a lot of reasons. Not all of it related around tech, but again, the difference is Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett wasn't trying to pretend that it was Mark Hamill. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
No one on the team was like, "Oh no, it's Mark." Oh no, it's a computer. No, no, it's Mark. And they're literally touting this as, isn't this great? We don't have to say goodbye to these comics. We can have them forever.
Yeah.
And we as a people, is that what we want with this? The AI is this umbrella term now, right? It's this
Yeah.
bucket that we just have put a lot of things into, and eventually we're gonna have to start pulling it out. I saw a tweet. I didn't save it this week. I was going to even show it. There's some guy. He's a commentator, has a show, whatever. He's on Twitter. He is quadriplegic, and he responded to someone saying, "Ooh, I don't want AI. I want it to go away. Everything." And he was like, "I don't." And he lists off 10 things that AI could do, can
Yes.
do, and is possibly going to do to make him maybe not walk again, maybe not heal him, but he's like, it can control my arms and I can hug someone again. And he said correctly, this is what AI should be used for. Instead, it's being used for profit margins or the
Mhm.
stealing of art. And that's
Yeah.
where this thing goes on to, is like, is this what we want to do? And maybe we have to live
Yeah.
with it to get the other things. But yeah, I don't have I don't even have anger towards it. I have mass confusion as to why anyone thinks this is what we want in our future. We don't need to worry. George Carlin's not dead. We've got this hour special from him.
Hmm.
That's
Yeah.
not
My
him.
my my feelings are two tiered. It's the confusion tier and the anger tier. Confusion tier
Mm-hmm.
about what we're doing, because as we talked about with like the Beatles now and then, like that was enabling the friends and family of this man to complete something with digital cleaning, with track separation, all the things that they were able to do, enabling someone to come in and improve their art or fix it, enabling somebody to that does face challenges that we don't face, to do things like speak and hug, human
Mm-hmm.
moments that can be facilitated. And you'll have the terms, a generative AI versus this AI, whatever.
Yeah.
What where the anger comes in is the insult to the family, and the especially from people that probably revered this guy and said they were, because everyone, like I find me the comedian that isn't at least respectful of Carlin in some way, um, and to act like she's not there, and to make her find out about it online, and all of that is the
Yeah.
disregard angers me.
Yeah.
But in terms of the
Yeah.
confusion, I go back to the idea that this is not creation. So this whole thing of like, oh
Yeah.
well, we don't ever have to say goodbye. Yeah, you still do, because you cannot guarantee with not 1,000 years of advancement on this that those would be his takes or his lines or his premises.
Right.
You can't. It's impossible. He's dead. There's just
Yeah.
no way to do it. It's not, can we get a shot of Christopher Reeves in the Flash movie?
Correct. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that doesn't require him to say anything. So
Yeah.
there's those
Yeah.
levels of, like, Molly is here in the comments. Hi, Molly. I was lucky enough to see George Carlin live, and I grew up probably too young to watch some of it. Watching his comedy specials and the AI news is gross. She got to see him. I never got to be that lucky.
Same.
We'll never recreate what happened the night Molly Damon saw George Carlin, because it was
No,
organic thought.
Molly. All you have to do is just play this video. It's like he's right there.
Yeah.
These wonderful AI pictures on the screen that are off-putting. Yeah.
So how can you say that it would be him? How can you, like, that's not, like, those are not my thoughts. Like, if you disappeared tomorrow and I was just peddling Ken Knapsack books and podcasts, being like, oh well, I knew him well, it's like, that doesn't that's not right.
Yeah. By the way, let me go. Please let me go. I wrote an entire song on the Moon Agers album, but just let me die. Yeah. Again, that's why I keep coming to this word confusion, because I'm just like, it gets infuriating of the folks that, like Molly said in the chat too. It's dangerous that there's some like, look at what we pulled off. Now, I'm not even saying from Chad and Will Sasso. I'm just saying in general. A lot of I'll use the term tech bro, which again also can be an overall umbrella term for people. It could be unfair maybe to some. But those folks who are just like, and after the Carlin, we could do Kennison, we could do Robin, and it's like, no.
Yeah.
And why is it?
And Robin, in Robin's will was the whole, no one can play me for 10 years and like at least give the world, like give my life a rest. We're past that now. And I'm sure this is something that Zelda Williams and his son, apologies, I forget his name, that they have to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, Zelda's more public too with it all. Yeah. No, I mean, look, she even wasn't thrilled with the Jake Lewis directed Jamie Costa, Robin Williams, finding out the day Belushi died short film that got out there, right? The proof of concept trailer. And I know Jamie, and I know Jake Lewis, and Jake's just great too, both sweethearts. Yeah. But Zelda had a like, why am I being sent this? Like, go do whatever you want to do, but this is a painful day in my father's life. My father isn't here. Don't recreate that. And now we got this to this level.
Yeah, I'll bring up this from Maddie. Maddie, of course, an excellent musician and somebody who's so well versed in the worlds, particularly of rock and of goth women. It's why I'm not for this Kiss Avatar concert. It gives corporations like Live Nation the idea of, oh, we can keep this going even when the artists are gone, and we can make money off of it. I mean, that is where it gets nuanced and weird, right? That's Mark Hamill Luke, because if Gene and Paul and Tommy and Eric are working with ILM like we know they are, and you got Hal Hickel involved, and they're showing the stage and everything, like that doesn't bother me until those four men are dead. Does that make sense? Like, if they want to be no longer of touring condition, either physically or just mentally, they don't want to do it, but they want to like be old guys in 2027 and be like, we approve this, go check it out. Is that not similar to television or film? That's a conversation, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Someone in our chat said, Bradley said, it's called a slippery slope. These are all slippery slopes. Even the Luke Skywalker thing, I agree. I have some friends who are very close to me who passionately disagree with them on Luke Skywalker stuff, where they said it's step one to further destruction, so to speak. I don't necessarily think they're wrong. I just think I'd like to at least get off that slippery slope and deal with case by case conversations. But it all slides down fast. And the Kiss thing, it's also not surprising for Gene. Gene's gonna make can I make more money after I die? Yeah, let's figure that out.
Gene's gonna ensure that Sophie's kids, his grandchildren, or is it Nick Simmons, like their grandchildren are going to be okay because Demon Grandpa is still selling out the garden. Like, and that's his right. And it is case by case. Like, again, the Star Wars of it all. Carrie Fisher was around when they made Rogue One. Mark is a part of this. Billy Lord was a part of Rise of Skywalker and okayed it and played it. It's not the same as Peter Cushing. It's not the same as this.
And even like, and I loved Tarkin, and I had less problems with just how it looked versus other people with the Cushing thing. But even that is, it's a little weird. We're in unprecedented times, as they might say, Alden, and this like, that's why I keep going. I keep saying that big confusion word. That should just be the title of the episode. Confusion is it just, it's only going to get better. That's because there was that over at the end of 2023, there was that AI songwriter that was released. What was her name? Anna something, AI Anna, whatever. And she's like, here's my first song. And it was creepy, right? And she couldn't get all the words right. But that's now. 2 years from now, you're not going to know. And that's where I'm just like, how does this stop? How does this not become Terminator 2 with some robot George Carlin launching nukes at us?
Yeah, that's the thing, is what is the end point here? And does anybody thinking about the end point? And I would love to talk to Kelly Carlin about it, and it is something that I am sort of pursuing, hopefully, maybe, possibly. I read her entire book in one sitting about her father and her family life and everything, and it's just to think that can just happen without you is so strange. And you know what? If it happened with her, they'd be very different.
Well, that was my final point on this thing too. Here, like, even one of my friends who's kind of on the no to AI side, he has the point of like, I don't care if their family says yes and they need a big last burst of money. I don't care. It's still a problem, and I understand that point of view. It does make, you mentioned the Billy Lord and all the stuff in the family, and the Cushing family even agree. It at least makes the conversation slightly different. If she had said, yeah, we worked on this, I thought it was interesting, I wouldn't love it, but okay. But that's the final wrinkle, is they did this, put out an hour special, marketed it. It's out there for clicks and she didn't even know. That doesn't seem smart legally.
No, I love Andy's comment here. I'm against AI shit in the arts, but I'd be okay with AI Stan Lee because it's so in line with his brand of him being a grandpa taking credit for the. Yeah. Oh, yeah. AI Stan Lee he created you, Andy. Didn't you know that? Yeah. I created Andy. I created the podcast.
Excelsior. It's like Excelsior. Jack Kirby, and he can't come back as AI. Only I can. Yeah.
No, I talked to the ghosts of Jack and everybody from back in the day. They said it was fine. Yeah. The problem is AI cannot self-determinate. Oh yeah, we're gonna have to do an episode where Ken and I start drinking and talk about Turing tests and and all that stuff. Because I
Look,
the consciousness stuff is a very interesting thing.
I'll have Grace was talking. She found an article. I need to find it. She found an article that some scientist was saying like by 2043 the AI will surpass us and realize it doesn't need us. And I don't know the entire scope of the article. I just she said that I have to actually go get it and read it. But I just even on the headline, I'm like, yeah, that don't sound good. that don't
Yeah.
that don't sound fun.
You remember when the Xbox 360 was still the jam and they had Xbox Connect coming out and they did that
Yeah,
Milo tech demo that
yeah, I do
never
remember
ended
that.
up, and that was a complete oversell and it was not actually capable of any of those things.
Yeah,
Um, you can hold up an orange drawing and Milo will grab it and it'll be orange and the thing. We should have kidnapped Peter Molyneux when that happened and destroyed Connect and asked him what's going on here, because maybe Milo is still working.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah. Interesting.
All
Interesting.
right. All right. Love it. Love it. I don't know. That's all I got to say on it. I'm confused, slightly appalled,
Yeah.
and worried about my. Hopefully I'll be gone soon. You carry on without me.
Yeah, I mean, but I'll need you though. You can't be gone because I'll need you for the resistance.
Oh,
That's
okay.
the thing.
All right. That's fair. That's
I
fair.
need you for. We need all your knowledge of
Look,
public
if a,
safety and the roads and where to eat and just like it's gonna be
yeah,
so
yeah,
necessary. Molly, you
yeah.
could come into the survival group too. Anyone else in
There
the
you go.
comments, that's welcome.
Yeah,
If anyone has questions about the apocalypse or anything that we've talked about or anything,
yeah.
now's the time.
We got a couple questions as we move in with our sonic change. We worked in radio. I'll stop mentioning it every time. But we got a couple questions here. I'll bring in. I don't know how serious it is because the username is a very serious name, Luke Skywanker. Look, you got to get it done in space. What's your Starbucks pick? Mine's a hot cafe latte. I don't go to Starbucks a lot. I try to go to the locals, but on the road, it's a big spot for a tea. If Mark and I are on the road, it's a Mark Ellis tea spot. So I just go simple, Alden. I go a tall pike and a grande cup.
I like it. I like it.
It's a little
When I
trick.
was when I was growing up, I was doing the frappuccinos as much as possible, Java chip frap. Um, since I got a little bit older,
Yeah,
I started drinking. If I go to Starbucks, which again is not all the time, especially because there's not one near me right now. There's only a Dunkin' and a couple small joints. But
never had
the
Dunkin' coffee.
what? Really?
They didn't come out here. There wasn't a Dunkin' out here till like a couple years ago, and then the lines were like
Wow.
around the block, and mean lines for food. No, I'll
Oh
wait
wow.
two
Yeah.
hours for Big Thunder Mountain, but I ain't gonna wait for coffee and a donut. I go to Donut King nearby.
Fascinating. Oh wow, that'll be a topic one day. What's something that
Okay.
you haven't done?
Yeah.
Um, now the either iced or hot, depending on the weather of the
The
day.
weather.
Venti white chocolate mocha with
Okay.
espresso shots.
You're doing good.
That's my jam.
They
Sorry if
got
that makes me
one.
sound like an elite, everyone.
Oh yeah, you're a coastal elite in the biggest way right now. No, I'll go. I'll get a during the holidays. I'll get an egg. They got an eggnog one. I'm a big eggnog fan. Big ups to eggnog, and so I'll get one there too. So, yeah, and I know. Look, I try to shop, ethically. But it does. I go to Target and use Amazon, so I have sins and I'll sin again. And Starbucks is a sin I'll do every now and again.
I have sinned and I'll sin again. That's going to be one
Yeah,
of our first shirts.
yeah.
Really excited. Real quick, I will say Jared's right about this. I have explicitly said he's not allowed to join my apocalypse party. Sorry, buddy. Hopefully, I see you on the other side. And the reason I say that, this is free advice for everybody watching or listening.
Mm,
Really think about your friends. I love Jared. He's like the little brother I never had.
okay.
Um, you need to analyze who you think has the potential to try to make a power play, like, and you can't have those people in the party. Like, if
Mm,
you think that somebody might get so spooked by the situation that they try to seize leadership, can't have that.
can't
Sorry,
have it.
can't have it.
Fair enough.
It's just
All right.
he's got governor vibes to me. And
Oh yeah.
yeah, it's like those
Okay.
people that are like, no, I know best. Like, nope, nope.
I don't know how I'd be. I might be like Tim Robbins in War of the Worlds, just in my basement. Trying to
Okay.
kill you. Trying to kill Tom Cruise.
All right.
Might be. I don't know. I don't know. We got one more question here. You picked this one out here. You want to read it in the
Yeah.
start
This
here
right
section?
here.
Yeah.
Jared, not the same Jared. Jared with an E. It's my birthday Sunday, turning 38 years old. Any advice about the upcoming 40s? So you're getting a couple years out prep.
Yeah. Look, it's fair to acknowledge, and by the way, I do want to highlight, I'm going to get Matthew Stokes just gifted 10 memberships to this channel. What a hero, man. What a hero. There you go. I'm going to go back to that. Did I say Matty Gunner? Matthew Stokes. Sorry. Oh, I gave the credit to the wrong person. Matty, sit down. Matthew Stokes is here. He's the hero today, not you, Matty Gunner. It's my B-Day, turns on 30. It's fair to acknowledge, it's okay to acknowledge that the 40s and turning 40 is big. It is definitely a mental wallop. It can set you back a little bit. I had a bit of a freak out. I did like 12 podcasts about it, and I thought life ended, and I just didn't know. But years ago, one of my old bosses, who was at the time 43, which is crazy because I'm now 5 years older than that spot, he told me straight up, I was 27, 28 at the time. He's like, dude, the 40s, it's already been the best decade of my life. Now, a lot of it had to do with he had retired from the sheriff's department. He had a little extra money. He was working this job. And he's like, I can do more things. I can do the things I wanted to accomplish. I got a motorcycle now. There's a lot of that. I don't have that. I live in L.A. I'm barely surviving. I'll be outside Target begging for food today. But there's some emotional truths to that, Jared, that the 40s, you finally know who you are. I've went through some big changes. I didn't start my second career till I was 39. My mother, I pick on my mother sometimes on the show. I give her a ton of credit. In her early 40s, she had been a housewife turned church secretary. Was fine for that time in her life. She wanted to do something more. She went back to school, started an entire second career in her mid 40s. Like, it's other than the pains, and the pains are real. My back is burning right now sitting in this chair, but that has more to do with a pro wrestling injury than it does age. But age doesn't help. All that stuff's real, but you know who you are. Embrace it. It's you're still young. I look back at pictures of me at 40, and I'm like, young fool. You had it all then. Why didn't you see it? So embrace it. Embrace it. And the 30s are great too.
And only now at the end do you understand?
Only now at the end do you understand. Yes.
Understand. Probably the top Sheev line for me personally. I think that's all beautiful.
Mine is your faith in your friends is yours.
I like. And I great. And I also have to say, you have paid the price for your lack of vision.
And yes. And my other favorite Palpatine line is from Rise of Skywalker. I absolutely love. I've died before. It's the best. I love it.
Yeah, that one's loaded. I mean, the as once I fell, so falls the last sky.
I love it. Like I can't tell you how much I love that film, and I know people. I get it. Whatever. You get Ian McDiarmid back to do some of the most over the top villainous Palpatine stuff. Like sign me up. Anyways, I hope that helps, Jared. I know Alden, you got the ancient year of 30 fast approaching for you in a couple years. I know it hangs over you. But you'll be
it does. It does. I think the dangerous thing, and this is not advice for anyone really, it's just more of a reflection. I'm sure some people figure this out. The thing to not do is what my mother and I do, which is when I'm this old, you'll be this old. Oh, don't do it. Don't do it. The other day we went down this road by accident. It just came up. And I said, when I'm 40, you'll be 69. And my mom goes, I'm not going to be around for that. And then I was like, stop it. And then we started to, when I'm 50, you'll be 79. And then my oldest nephew will be this. And like, don't do that. That's just a bad path.
No, don't do that. Look, I'll admit this, for the first time, my parents are in their 70s. They're doing good. God bless it. Knock on wood. For the first time this week, I did that, like, in 25 years, I could be dead thing. And I was like, what am I doing? And I wasn't even depressed. I just was like sitting around. I was like, yeah, because that year, oh God, yeah, I might be dead. Oh no, like you can't live today. Think about
Yeah.
tomorrow, but live today. A
Yes.
couple more questions have coming in. If you got a super chat and want to get our attention, or you have any question, we'll star those. You don't have to super chat to get in it. Here, 8984M says, as someone who blew out their vocal cords going too hard in karaoke, what advice do you have as people who talk in mics on how not to do that? When it comes to sing, I can't sing. I blow out my vocal cords just singing along to like Oasis songs in my car. I don't have the management, the breaths, the control. You know, I ain't no Lady Gaga, so I don't know that. But you, Alden, do you sing?
The better way to say this is I have done singing. I don't sing actively. Um, Late
Perfect.
high school, I did theater, and I did theater in school, and I did some community theater, a couple plays. My singing voice is my speaking voice in a lot of ways. It's bass
Okay.
baritone stuff, so there's not a
Okay.
lot of like parts. But I
Oh,
exactly. I played Judge Turpin and Sweeney Todd. I did
okay. So it
Scar,
does.
Lion
Okay.
King.
Okay.
The Jeremy Irons, basically Jeremy Irons impression.
Okay.
At that point, I was hanging out with a lot of theater people, and somebody that I was really close with, and I'm still good friends with. But at the time, it was like we were close, and then we became more than friends. And it was very complicated. But she's an actual actress, and she made her debut in Chicago this past winter, and
Nice.
the whole thing. And she's great. And back then, it was her telling me a month out from performance, we're not having any dairy. And
Oh yeah.
that was a
There's
big
yeah.
thing. So that clears you up.
Mm-hmm.
And in place of all that dairy, tea.
Tea, which I hate tea. I try. I don't like
I'm
tea.
not a tea guy either.
Not a
When
tea.
I want to be, and I want to be.
Yeah.
So that's the only advice I have. I talk a lot. Ken talks more than I do. Even when I'm podcasting every week, it's
Yeah.
a couple hours tops. Now with this show, top out at 4. I think you top out at like 10, if
Yeah,
not
yeah,
more.
roughly. If I'm doing radio, I do have radio every week. Yeah, Force Center. Yeah, we did a lot of Force Center this week. So, for me, I changed my voice a little bit. I have a little bit of a radio voice. I didn't when I was on the radio back in the '90s. I just had my high pitched, squeaky. Do you want to listen to the Jim Blossoms voice? But I lower my voice a little bit. I'm protective of my radio voice. I try to make sure it's different than my normal
Yeah.
speaking voice. So that can strain me a little bit. But you just press on. A lot of water for me. Water's the key. Well, water's the key. 8984M. But
Yeah,
when it's karaoke, you just got to let it go.
karaoke,
Sweet Caroline, wah wah, just belt it.
Yeah, don't be concerned at karaoke, but rightfully, Molly points out that Maddie would have the advice. It's all from the stomach, not
Yeah,
the throat. Is Maddie's key point here? And here we go. I like this one. I make silly faces and funny noises for 30 minutes before I make angry noises. Is that
yeah.
psychological or physical, Maddie?
I
Or
don't know,
both?
Maddie. That's great. Good advice, though. Yeah, he does the screaming. Going back to the 40 thing, my old pal, one of the original Schmoes fans back in the day, Joey Beans. The only thing about being in my 40s is I have to go to the bathroom after I already gone to the bathroom. Until it starts happening to you, you don't understand it. You're just like, got up, went. I call them ghost tinks, where it's like it's not really there, but it's there. You can feel its presence. You get back down. You get back. It's a thing.
You
It's a thing.
described it as like some sort of villain. I can feel its presence.
I can feel its presence. All right, one more question here. We got to start getting on out of here. Andy, they got a great question. Who in Westerosi would be cool with bringing dead nobles back with AI? Is Melisandre tech crypto, bro? I think she is. I think she absolutely is. But who would be cool with it the most? Who do you think would be like, we should give this a go because isn't it awesome?
I don't think Tywin Lannister would like the idea, but I think you could persuade Tywin to pursue it because he doesn't have faith in his kids. Like Tywin would be like, you have to extend me. You have to bring me back, or else the house will fall into ruin.
The answer in terms of like what the actual question here is okay. So it's just Westerosi. It's not necessarily the lords or the ladies at the top. Cersei's proven to be cool with it, but that Qyburn is the one who's probably he's not tech broy, but this is part of his experiments. The mountain's back. That's not the mountain. Sure is. Something better. My answer's Qyburn.
Yeah, I think you're right, and you know that the Iron Bank was it the Tychonosaurus, the stories that he would he would be the one bankrolling it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep. I love that.
Absolutely.
Love that. Love it. All right. A little. Oh, I don't disagree with this either. PLD. Paul Denus is saying Littlefinger would be all over. I think Littlefinger would be the one who would be like Qyburn. If Qyburn suggests it to you, you get a little creeped out. You're like, this doesn't seem right, unless you're Cersei trying to take the kingdom. But if Littlefinger's the one who's like, no, it's great. It's just like having, just like having Azor Ahai here. Like, it's wonderful.
Oh my
It's
God.
great. And
You can
and
hear
like,
the pitch
okay.
like spend all the crypto in your mind. Like
Spend the crypto.
every ending, every AI. Like it's just it's
AI
right
is
there.
a ladder.
Oh, I hate it. I hate it.
I hate it, and it's great. All right, we're getting ready to get on out of here because I'm going to warm up some taquitos. That's how I end every show now. I get hungry and want to warm up taquitos. Before we go, though, we do like to have a pop rockin' word of wisdom to leave on, some advice from our favorite rock and pop songs in the world, presented by Pop Rockin' Radio, my music show, which will not be live this Saturday night because the Miami Dolphins go to Kansas City to play a playoff game in 0-degree weather, and I'm going to be watching that, and I won't be in a state of mind afterwards, win or lose, most likely lose, to do radio or do music. But there you go. Alden, this week it's your choice. What do we got for pop rockin' word of wisdom?
How about them Dolphins? This week we've
Dolphins?
got a band that I really love, Greta Van Fleet, with their song Heat Above. But some of you may know Greta Van Fleet as the band that is kind of sounding like Led Zeppelin in a lot of different ways. This is from their song Heat Above from their concept album, The Battle at Garden's Gate. Follow the fearsome sound as they march to battle. Hear the drums pound. We do not fight for war, but to save the lives of those who do so. Can you hear that dreadful sound? Fire still burning on the ground. Can you feel my love rising with the heat above? Life's the story of ascending to the stars as one.
Beautiful. I love that. Is that about Danny taking down the Capitol?
Yes, the ascending to the stars as one is when her son Drogon scooped her up and took her off into the undying lands. It's also a song about all of us in the AI apocalypse, evidently.
It is that, and war and the state of the world. We covered a lot today, and hey, look, not everything we say you'll agree with. That's totally fine. We understand it. We're here offering our take and our opinion on our emotional reaction and connection to the news and the world and everything out there. So we appreciate you all coming along for the journey. And we'll be back next week, Alden. And we had such fun with Alex Backus last week. We'll definitely start working on more and more guests to come in and join the conversation. Been a lot of fun. That's my final word. What do you got for a final word? And then we'll get the hell out of here.
I'm going to echo one of our favorite people. Before you make anything scary voices, scary faces, spend 30 minutes making silly ones instead.
Lovely advice. Beautiful. All right. Follow, subscribe, like, share, tell your friends. We'll see you next week, friends. Bye.